Hello, and welcome to We Are Ashley Hall, the podcast where we celebrate the voices, ideas, and experiences that shape our community. I'm Dr. Ann Weston, head of school and proud alumna of Ashley Hall, and I'm so glad you're joining us today. At Ashley Hall, we're deeply committed to preparing our students for a rapidly changing world while also staying true to our mission of educating the whole girl. Today, we're diving into a topic that touches every classroom and every family: technology. From the ways we integrate technology into learning, to how our library is evolving into a media center, to the social emotional challenges and opportunities technology brings. These are topics that will be explored as we show how Ashley Hall equips students to be thoughtful, balanced, and confident digital citizens. And now I'll turn it over to today's moderator, our technology integration specialist, Susannah Elliot.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Weston. So, hi, everybody. I am Susannah Elliot. Today's topic is digital citizenship, pervasive use of technology everywhere, and also how we handle this in terms of our wellness spaces. So before we begin, I'm surrounded here with three wonderful colleagues, and I'd like you to go ahead and introduce yourselves. Do you want to start, Erin?
Yeah, I'm Erin Neighbors, and I am the Director of Library and Media Services.
I'm Kelly Sumner. I'm the Director of Counseling and Upper School Student Life.
And I'm Kristin, Doggett, Lower School Counselor.
Awesome. So I am really delighted to be having this conversation. We are clearly living in a digital world. Technology is everywhere. It touches all aspects of our lives, from our young students all the way to our grown-up lives, inside and outside of school. We talk about screen time, how much screen time. We talk about how often we should be using devices and so on. So these are really important topics. And for today's discussion, I thought we would really focus on digital citizenship, what that actually means. Here at Ashley Hall, we talk a lot about using technology intentionally, carefully, thoughtfully. We also are really intentional about our students and how they develop their interpersonal skills and the human aspect around, just relating in life, knowing who you are. Before we dive into the conversation, we should really identify what digital citizenship is and maybe what it means to you. From my point of view, I've studied a lot about this. So digital citizenship, there are entire standards around this, and it's basically how you behave and how you interact with people, but also how you make positive creations and how you collaborate with other people. So for you all, digital citizenship, what would you add to that?
For me, it's just about helping students acknowledge and showing them how it will serve them best to navigate that world, much like they navigate a person-to-person relationship. So accepting that they are moving about in this digital world and seeing that as a community that they also need to be responsible in. And so just learning how you want to present yourself, what information you want to allow into your world and into your life, and how you engage with others in that space.
So in the Media Center, digital citizenship is just about finding resources, but then doing something with those resources. And so I really encourage my students to question what they're reading, to take time to really think about what information is in this resource, and not just believing everything for face value, but taking the time to say, is this correct information? Should I look at another source and compare? Should I just ask questions in general, about the validity of this? And because I think a lot of us get caught up in believing everything we read, right? There's so much AI out there that it's difficult to decipher what's real and what's not. And so I think it's really important to not just find a resource and accept it for what it is, but to take the time to figure out, is this a good resource for me to use? Is it truthful? And how can I use this resource to help me create something new?
From a wellness perspective, I see digital citizenship as just again, our engagement with technology, but understanding that there's a human behind every piece of technology, and that we are practicing, safe measures to engage online, whether that be pausing before posting or asking for adult support when we're not sure how to navigate something, teaching our girls how to safely and effectively engage with technology, and understanding that it's not a replacement to that in-person connection.
Right. So I like to talk about how we can use technology in so many good ways to be creative, to be collaborative, to investigate things, and also to share. But then maybe you become frustrated and say something you wouldn't want to say, or you become sensitive because you feel like someone else's work has gotten more attention than yours. This goes all the way back. All the way as low as kindergarten, first grade. They're very sensitive. And so that comparison thing happens really, really early. So there are so many of these aspects that we call being a good digital citizen. So I feel like we have two things going on. We have expertise, so how we're teaching our students how to use these tools. They really need to, by the time they graduate, we want them to be skilled, knowledgeable, savvy. We've got that piece, which is how we're actually teaching the tools. And then we also have the coping with these tools, which is why I see here I'm here with Erin, our Director of Media Services, and then we've got Kelly and Kristin showing up in the wellness space. So what if we start talking about how we're actually thoughts about teaching the stuff and what the Media Center is going to be looking like for us?
So we want our Media Center to really focus on not only the physical resources that are available, but also the digital, because we live in a very digital world. When we think, even back 10 or 15 years, research was conducted through the book sources, but that's just not simply the case. And so we want to focus more on the digital aspect of finding these peer-reviewed articles and, just good, rich, detailed sources, but also keeping that community space. We want it to be this collaborative hub that everyone feels comfortable in a space where they can learn. And, it's not just research that we're focused on. We also want to think about the technology side from a scope of what jobs will look like in 10, 15, 20 years. And so we want them to be prepared to explore and collaborate and create. And so we've got maker spaces where they can work on, digital printing. We've got some different things that we're working on as far as like the tiny mic interviews and podcasting. And so those are the things that we really want to focus on, is not just finding the information, but what are we doing with that information after the fact?
Yes.
How are we adding to our community?
Right.
So we just encourage our girls to be creators of technologies and not just consumers.
And they get so excited. It makes the library feel in a different kind of inviting space.
I love how you're talking about the personal interactions that are happening in the Media Center too, because I think wellness is always teaching us how to interact with people, to turn inward. What is it that I need? What am I aware of for myself? And when you're in spaces where you can collaborate with people and work one-on-one with people, you're also just honing those skills, because wellness is all about not just surviving in the world. We want to thrive in the world, and we want to teach them how to be the best possible people that they can be, and also take these opportunities to get the most out of the Media Center, or when they're in college, or when they're out in their community somewhere else. So I love that that's becoming more of a interaction place to build these connections. We all listened to a podcast before school started, some of us, about connectedness, and it was talking about mostly faculty to students, but I think student to student and student to parent is also important. Every interaction is an opportunity to either establish a connection, build on a connection, strengthen it, or repair a connection. And so having more places on campus for those connections to take place is really important.
And I think, Kelly, to your point about some of those life skills that we try to instill in wellness, I think the girls can gain confidence in discerning what's real, what's not, what's helpful, what's not, what they want to take in through research and academic literature. And the more we're empowering them to think critically, the more that self-aware they are and the more they're appropriately engaging with other students on campus.
This part is really interesting to me because you need to have a space where they feel comfortable going to learn. You never know what one aspect, maybe it's stop motion animation or maybe it's photography or editing, but you never know what one tool is going to really excite the student. And I also think it's really important to understand at each age level what's appropriate and that we're having conversations. We have young students who talk to Alexa. So on the one hand, we're concerned about them having quote unquote screen time, but on the other hand, they're surrounded by their parents are videoing, we're documenting. So I think sometimes that can be really confusing, and then really breaking it down. Like some of this I think of as manners. You have to have tech manners, you have to have manners, kindness when you're face to face and kindness when you're online. And I'm interested in how you've had this bubble up. Like I feel like some of the times that I have the best conversations around technology with students is when I'm saying, let's try something that I don't know very well either. And they are very eager. And then they start to say things like, oh, I had this experience on my iPad at home, or, oh, this happened when I was playing Roblox. And so I learn from them, and it allows some of the stuff to come up naturally. I'm curious to know, in your worlds, how you maybe model use of technology or how the conversations come up.
I acknowledged an Instagram following that I had when I was starting off our student council retreat this year. And I was reading them a quote that spoke to the joy that we need in our lives, in addition to the academic piece, which is really what wellness is so much about. But I made it a point of saying, I have this Instagram account. I'm very purposeful about what I allow to reach me. And I do that by selecting who I follow. And this is somebody that I follow. And this is a quote that came up that spoke to me. And I hope it speaks to you. And they really enjoyed that quote. But I just took that extra opportunity to remind them that we can acknowledge that, all of this isn't good or bad, right? Like it's there, and there's ways to use it, and there's ways to use it in ways that can enrich your lives. And that can be a very positive thing.
I think it's also good to ask questions, and teach them that it's okay to question what I'm reading or to elaborate on it. It's not just about taking in the information, and that kind of goes back to what I said a minute ago. What am I going to do with this information? Am I going to just take this for face value, or am I going to use it to create something else, or am I going to question and do more research and figure out what, I can do about, this said problem that I just read about or researched about, and how to move forward from there.
Then I think modeling, especially with the younger students, is really important. So I try, both as a parent and a teacher and faculty member here at Ashley Hall, to model healthy engagement with technology. So I always ask myself, and my children called me on this, Mom, why are you scrolling Instagram again? I try to ask myself, am I being intentional, or am I just aimlessly engaging in technology? And if I'm being intentional and it's enhancing whatever it is that I'm learning or trying to discern between, then I think that is a very different use of technology than just kind of aimlessly engaging with this platform.
And that's a good conversation that takes place in wellness too, is acknowledging that scrolling through Instagram or doing something online might relieve your stress for a moment. It might help you escape what you're dealing with for the moment. But to only rely on that is not necessarily healthy. So to always point out, yes, okay, maybe that works and that's okay for you, but let's look at other ways that we can also get that same result. We do a lot of mindfulness exercises, even if it's just as simple as we take the whole class out, we take a silent walk, we look, we feel, we, experience, allow ourselves to sort of become more grounded and help them experience those types of ways to get the same result, but just in a much more different way.
I feel like this is a perfect example of how technology overlaps everything. So we're talking about teaching tools, and then the wellness just dovetails really naturally. But let's take a second and say, what is wellness? What do we do in wellness here? Like, I love hearing you talk about the mindfulness exercises, but for our listeners.
Very basically, it's social emotional learning. So it's all the skills that you use outside of an academic setting that just help you navigate your world in a way that allows you to be the healthiest version of yourself. And Kristin spends a lot of time in the classroom with our younger students.
Yeah, it looks a little different for the lower school, but I think the same foundational skills we're teaching are to help them be their best self, whether that be in the classroom, socially, academically, and beyond. So in the lower school, that is biweekly 30-minute wellness classes, K through 4, helping them to establish that foundational skill set of, empathy and active listening skills, conflict resolution. So all of the tools that we need in our toolbox, if you will, to complement anything that they're going to be learning academically and beyond.
I love it. I wish I had had wellness when I was younger. Certainly the mindfulness, I think, is really nice. And mindfulness is so great when we even pick up our devices. I've tried, as I am stepping into this, teaching technology role, having more of an awareness of how I am sort of diving in sometimes, or maybe spending too much time at home. I'll be typing and someone asks a question, or, being aware of when someone's talking to me and I pick up my phone and then all of a sudden I trail off. And I think our young people are very, very sensitive to that. And there's the notion of if you're looking at your screen, no one really knows where you are. And I think it's important for them to understand that too, in terms of, where your attention goes. And I think it's easy to be scared of this, but it's everywhere. So I prefer for us to be equipped with the understanding of what it is, what we're doing with these devices, even how they run, the materials, the environmental impacts of them. And I say to students, don't be scared, just be careful. That's when I say be careful, like take a minute before you type something. So that's one way I approach some of this.
I did want to highlight too, Susannah, you mentioned I wish I had had those classes as children. I think we all do. And I wanted to highlight that one of the special things about Ashley Hall is that we have kind of woven this social emotional learning into the fabric of the school. And I think that's really important and really different from other schools because, yes, we're there as sort of more traditional counselors helping students to navigate life's challenges, grief or loss or any shift in family dynamic, where we create that safe space for them to explore those challenges. But also we're in the classroom every day helping them to actually implement those skills in the real world. So I'm really excited to be part of this community because I think that's just a really unique component of Ashley Hall.
Yeah, I'm very proud to say that since 2001, Ashley Hall has been very purposeful about putting wellness in the classroom. And that's a wonderful thing. And you see the benefit over the years.
Oh, for sure. We have really wonderful relationships with our students. And that actually you can see walking around anywhere, the way they greet their teachers. And I think there's a lot of trust.
So, I think that's another important point to make is we've created this collaborative environment. We've created almost this family-style environment, but it's really about empowerment, for the girls. And so we've created different spaces. I think the Media Center is one of those that has just really honed in on how do we empower these girls? How do we create thriving women who go out into the community and do big things? We have these maker spaces where we are allowing them to create and figure out where their place is in the world and how can they add to it and what can they do just personally or as a group of women.
Back to the wellness, there's data that talks about how bad social media is for girls particularly. And I almost feel like it's not good for anybody, right? But for young girls in particular, do you all talk about that in wellness?
Yeah. And again, being aware of what the positives can be and then what some of the challenges can be. And so we know that When you're online, it's very easy to compare yourself to others. You're looking at people through filters. You're looking for validation sometimes too from an outside source. And so having wellness to sort of balance that out and help them to be discerning about what they're seeing, and also to teach them, that self-validation is the most important thing ever. Is, how am I feeling about myself? How are the people in my world reacting to me and relating to me? And to help take away all that can come from social media when you're looking for validation only in that space.
I think that looks different again in the lower school. Social media is not as prevalent, but it's more about teaching those skills of confidence and self-awareness and recognizing hurtful behaviors, things that they need to understand how to navigate in the real world, and hopefully will give them that foundation when they're starting to engage in the digital world as well.
I really believe that this is something that if we can get ahead of, serves them well. I've done an activity where there is the heart and the ability to comment. And so we do the whole lesson on making nice comments. And I feel that is hopefully an advantage for when they do, the first time you're on social media and you're sensitive to the likes and comments can be a little overwhelming. But if they already know that that's ahead of them, then I think it makes them stronger.
Yeah, when they have that healthy mindset, when they have those great feelings about themselves, then they're able to engage better in the academic setting. Like it just enhances what they're doing in the classroom if they have that wellness piece as a part of their regular lives. I'm really excited that we're having this conversation today because we are happy to celebrate the Media Center and all of the ways that we use technology on campus. But we want to make sure that we are also balancing that out with our wellness lessons so that our students can learn how to balance out. Yes, we can use this technology and it can be exciting, but we also need to be aware of how it might be affecting us and how we need to manage it. And hopefully parents will take something from this conversation too, because we're not the experts on how often it should be used or how it should be used. We want to give you information so you can make the best decision for yourselves and for your family.
Screen time's really hard. Everyone has different approaches too. And so you can get into a lot of judgment around that. So this is definitely a conversation that we could spend hours and hours talking about. And then it also raises many questions for you, I'm sure listeners at home, and me as well. There are some places that I like to go to when I have questions or wonder what, latest best practices are. I like to go to Common Sense Media. But here at school, we are also compiling resources to make available to parents.
We have 3 full-time counselors, one in each division at the school. And so in addition to the one-on-one counseling that they provide, if they ever feel like a family needs support beyond that, we have a huge list of community referrals. But also from the wellness aspect, we have a compilation of books and videos and websites and articles and podcasts and all kinds of places where parents can go and get more information.
So you can find that on the resource board on the Learning Commons.
On the Learning Commons, under wellness.
Awesome. And I know that Erin, you've updated the library and media center space on the Learning Commons also, right? Yeah.
So the library tile on the Learning Commons also is packed full of resources both within research and technology. And we want to just continue to encourage our students to use technology in creative ways that don't necessarily include just a screen. But what am I doing? What am I producing with this technology that I'm using?
Thank you, Erin, Kristin, and Kelly, for this thoughtful conversation. And thank you so much to our listeners for joining us. If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, share with friends, and let us know your feedback. This has been We Are Ashley Hall. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We Are Ashley Hall is more than a podcast. It's a way to stay connected to our vibrant community no matter where you are.